Good morning, Jane. And not a good night for Tyson Fury.
No, but it was a great night for the neutral because it was a cracking fight between Brit Tyson Fury and the Ukrainian Oleksandr Usyk. It was a points decision, so it was really close. And it was Tyson Fury who missed out because he was defeated by Oleksandr Usyk, who became boxing's first four-belt undisputed heavyweight champion. And I'm very pleased to say we're joined now by boxing pundit Steve Bunce, who is in Riyadh, who was obviously watching last night. Steve, Fury was adamant that he thought he won after the match. He had a few wobbly moments, though, didn't he? What was your thinking after watching that, particularly seeing the ninth?
Well, yeah, the ninth. We'll get to the ninth in a second, Jane, if we can. Fury did think he'd won, but as he said, I'm a fighting man. I'll take it. And two of the judges only separated them by 1 round. That shows it was a really tight fight, and it was a really tight fight. Had Usyk lost, he wouldn't have screamed. Fury lost, he didn't scream. You might hear him change the narrative over the next few days. That's just boxing. That's the way it works. And as for the ninth round, well, that's one of the all-time great heavyweight rounds because in about round 6, Usyk was trailing by a couple of points and he clawed his way back. And then in the ninth round, he hit Tyson Fury. And I'm going to use an expression. Now I finally know what it means. He was hit from pillar to post. Tyson Fury's back hit every single side of the ring in an absolutely ridiculous 40 or 50-second sequence, which resulted in him toppling into the ropes, which in boxing constitutes a knockdown. It wasn't a fight for the ages. And not only was I there, I was about 8 feet away from this. That's privilege, Jane, by the way.
Yeah, I think we're all jealous of you, definitely, Bunce, after watching that fight. It was an incredible achievement for Usyk, who I think many would agree is a very technically gifted boxer. Do you feel he is a worthy recipient of this title of undisputed heavyweight champion of the world?
Absolutely, I do. And what he had to do during last night's 36 minutes was park a lot of the science, park a lot of the wizardry, and just dig his toes into that canvas and grit down on his teeth. And we could see him on his gum shield, his teeth protector. He could see him gripping down, biting down, and just fight and slug it out. And the person who believes he's a worthy recipient of being called the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world is a man called Lennox Lewis. In 1999, won the undisputed heavyweight title in a place called Paradise. And since then, he's had that title in his heart. Somewhere in the ring last night, in the melee, there were hundreds in there, loads of Ukrainian flags, lots of emotion in there, all sorts of chaos. Somewhere in there, Lennox Lewis held Oleksandr Usyk on the shoulder, and that was the passing of the undisputed belt. He's worthy of it, Mr. Usyk, trust me.
Wonderful. And it was a first defeat for Fury in 16 years. Do you feel this has shaken him, and already we're talking about the rematch clause?
Absolutely. We were talking about the rematch clause being invoked before we'd left the ring. And the way that works is that the loser of last night's fight, as per contract, had the right to invoke the rematch clause. Tyson Fury absolutely did that in the ring. It's that simple. We will see a rematch, probably October, November, and almost certainly back here in Riyadh. That's what I'm guessing.
Do you think it's going to go down as one of the greatest fights that you've seen?
I think it's one of the great fights I've seen because it wasn't just that the fight was so good and the ninth round was incredibly memorable. It was also what was at stake. A 25-year lull. 25 years where about 50 different men have been able to hold their hand up and say, I'm the world heavyweight champion. It's like a bad version of that great scene in Spartacus. I'm the heavyweight champion. And suddenly last night, the real heavyweight champion, a modern day giant, a man who's worthy to walk with the greatest names, not just in boxing, but the greatest names in sport, won that title like you should, covered in blood, fighting toe to toe in front of 23,000 people until the final bell. You know, it out-Rocky's Rocky. There's moments like that when you look back on all those Rocky movies in the 70s and the 80s, and they look like what they are, acting. Last night was the real thing.
Steve Bunce, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Steve Bunce there for us in Riyadh.